always said that, right, if you're trying to make something for everyone, you make it for no one.
Yeah.
And if you can make something very specific and local, that can really resonate and connect with people all around the world. My dream job was to run a TV studio, right? That was my dream job. And I got to do that, which is amazing. And this is the dream job, but this dream job did not exist when I first got into the business a long time ago. One of my superpowers is that I hire really smart, great people, and I let them do their job. I was in my doctor's office one day, and they were like, hey, and I was like, wait, I'm walking on a treadmill in like a cardiologist sort of office as a test. He's like, I have an idea. I was like, this is definitely not the time to pitch me an idea.
Bela, welcome to the Hollywood Reporter India. And welcome to our new show. It's called The Titans. And it's a show in which I'm speaking to sort of the leaders in the entertainment business. And I'm thrilled to have you as our first guest, because I have to tell you, it's hugely inspiring to me. And it's sort of also a personal kick that a woman of Indian origin is one of the most powerful players in the global entertainment business, overseeing a budget of 18 billion. I love that.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And congratulations on the new show. That's exciting.
It is
Thank you
exciting.
for having me. Yes.
So
I like the 18 billion also.
Isn't that a great figure?
Yes, it's a good figure. Yes, it's a good figure.
And I always hear about how it's bigger than the GDP of X country or Y country. And it just thrills me that you're in charge.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
I want to start, Bela, with something Ted Sarandos said about you. I think it was 2 years ago at the American Abroad Honors. And he said there is no executive at any other entertainment company in the world creating global TV the way that Bela is, right? Because you're overseeing 27 offices, you're creating in 50 languages. Mm-hmm. How does this even happen?
It's amazing. Look, I think what is great is, which is very nice of Ted to say, I think what's amazing is that Netflix as a company, right, is first and foremost trying to do something that has not happened before, right? The ambition of storytelling around the world, taste, language, genres. Like it just hasn't happened. And, and that's really exciting. We're doing that across, TV and film and docs and nonfiction. And because we know having this, the ambition is to entertain the world. And if you're going to entertain the world, we know people have lots of different tastes around the world. And so we have 27 country offices, but we make local language originals in 50 different languages in 50 different countries. And, and I think that's so important because people want to see themselves and they want to see their own culture and language and stories represented. And they also want to watch, different things from different places. If you think about even India, loves local, right? Film and TV. And what's amazing about, obviously in India that we know audiences love so much local film and TV, and there's amazing storytellers here, but you see that, the love for Money Heist from Spain and Squid Game from Korea, telenovelas from Latin America. So there's a lot of different kinds of things that people love. And so that's what we're trying to do. And it really, it's such an exciting kind of ambition and aspiration for the company.
It is. It really is. But are there sort of practices that work across geographies, right? You've always said that the perfect Netflix show is what one of your VPs, Jenny Howe, said is the gourmet cheeseburger, right? Mm-hmm. So it's premium, but it has commercial possibilities. What's the secret sauce to finding these gourmet cheeseburgers? Like, is there something that works in one country that also works in another?
I think really the secret sauce has been, no matter where we are in the world, right? We have local creative executives who live there, they speak the language, they come from the creative community, and creators, filmmakers come in and you back that vision, right? You do something that feels very authentic and specific, right? Somebody has a vision and they have something, there's something to say, they have a strong point of view, but it's very specific. And I think when that happens, to me, that's the secret sauce. And then what we do is we take that very local, specific story, that vision, filmmaker, creator, and then we launch that title to an audience around the world. And because those, to me, you're right, the more specific it is, the more universal it becomes, right? Because the idea, I think, when people talk about trying to make global titles, right, I've always said that, right, if you're trying to make something for everyone, you make it for no one.
Yeah.
And if you can make something very specific and local, that can really resonate and connect with people all around the world. And I think, when Ginny has talked about, is the gourmet cheeseburger, that is like definitely different titles on the slate of each country that you're like, this is really, it can be premium, it can be elevated storytelling, and yet it's commercial. Because I think sometimes people think of like premium and they put in a bucket of, oh, this is just small and premium, and then these things are commercial. But that's not true. We have seen over and over again, some of our biggest titles have also been our most award-winning. Recently, Adolescence just won many Emmy
8
awards.
Emmys?
I think that we won 6.
I
think we won 6.
It's 30
They
total,
swept,
right?
Yes, yeah. They swept in sort of their category on the night last weekend. But that was both of those things. That was amazing, award-winning, huge, one of the biggest shows, right, we've ever had in English, and a very local story. Because when Stephen Graham and Jack Thorne wrote that, they wrote it from a very specific local knife crimes happening in the UK and in different towns in the UK. Such a specific local story, resonated around the world, stunning television, and very award-winning. And so I think the gourmet cheeseburger can be lots of different things, and it depends. It's one of those things, when you try it, you'll know it. We'll say Lamburger here, maybe. And it was that idea of it's elevated and premium, but you also know it can be very commercial.
Yeah. Yeah. Speaking of Adolescence, when it dropped, Anurag Kashyap, who's one of the sort of original Netflix creators with Sacred Games, he said he was actually envious as a filmmaker because the storytelling was so ambitious, it was so creative, but he also used it as a sort of critique of the local team to say that this could never come out of India because nobody would greenlight it, right? What is the balance that you need to strike between telling teams, be creative, be original, take risks, but also being sensitive to local landscape? What can be said, what can't be said? How do you thread that?
So really, we've obviously worked with Anurag in the past, very talented. I disagree with the premise. I think people from the outside looking in can sort of decide what they think happens and doesn't happen. And I think if that, because when the UK team greenlit Adolescence, Jack Thorne, Stephen Graham, amazing writers, there was one script that the first episode was written, right? The team read it. It was undeniable. I don't think there's a leader in any country I have around the world, including India, that wouldn't read that and go, this is so obvious to greenlight. I mean, it's an incredible piece of writing. And I do think sort of that's important. But I'd say it's not the only way to do this. And the conversation we have all the times with all the teams, including India and all the teams, is bet on voices, be bold and original. What's the next thing, right? And what I love about Netflix is we have always continued to take swings. We also have to program for a wide range of people, right? We're not a narrow demographic. We don't look at it that way. We also know in India, there's many Indias in India, which you know better than I do even, but there's people have lots of different tastes. Yeah. And we don't judge them from a very specific point of view of, we like this very specific thing because we might live in a big metropolitan city, or we don't like this. I mean, we really are just like, what's the next swing? What's that voice? What do you bet on? And we know that people have different moods and tastes. Sit down and you're in the mood for a really immersive, really meaty drama. And sometimes you're like, I want something light and fun. And that's kind of, in a big comedy or a romance. And that's what people are in the mood for. And we really focus on the audience. What does the audience want to watch? What pleases them? We know they have different tastes and moods. And there isn't those conversations about taking swings and being creative. That's just what happens. There's not be creative and, by the way, look at these sensitivity. That's not how that conversation goes. The conversation is always like, when that creator walks in the door, you bet on that voice. And so in Adolescence, that script came in, you read that script and you sort of bet on that vision. There's no really discussion beyond that. And when I look at even, the India slate, I love that we have Gods of Bollywood and Black Warrant and Kapil Sharma show.
Yeah.
Like that's, we're trying to really we're trying to entertain the world. We're not trying to entertain a small group of people who have one definition of what they think is good or premium. We're trying to entertain people all around the world.
But Bella, I'll tell you, there is a general sense that, it's been almost 10 years of streaming in India now.
Yeah.
And honestly, I think it's been incredible in the way it's shaped the landscape. It allowed writers to foster. It allowed, new actors to really flourish. I think it's so much more inclusive when it comes to women, right? But there is a general sense that the honeymoon is over and streamers are now a little more timid, a little more conservative, and like too many other platforms and producers now chasing stars above storytelling. What is your response?
I mean, obviously, I disagree with that because I just went through the entire slate in India, which has lots of different, this really great show that's coming up, which we probably haven't even announced yet, so I can't really talk about it, but new creators, right? Like very ambitious storytelling, new creators, and it was like, right, again, they had a voice and they had a vision. I think also when you want creators and filmmakers, nothing would make me or the team happier if you have these great creators and filmmakers come in who just have a very clear point of view, a vision, this very passion for what the story is. So I think, I think you also have to understand, like in all of these countries, as members grow, it could be like a wide range of tastes, a bigger sort of population. And so we make lots of different things. But I think we've never been, I think what has also worked for us is that we haven't had a very narrow sense or judging about like what do people want and what they don't want. It's really just been like really making sure we're catering to lots of different tastes. And I'd say we have such wide breadth of things on our slate on film and TV and nonfiction. And so I just think, look, the proof a lot is in this consistency of great storytelling. Members were loving, Netflix and sort of what they're watching there. And so I look, I disagree with the premise, but, I'm always like, I want to make things that people love. And I'd say, the truth is genuinely, like with the team, we always talk about what's around the corner. And just because something works, we don't do another one of those. It's like we always want to continue to be bold and do storytelling, right? Just like recently doing K-pop Demon Hunters, huge movie, original IP, not based on, and really kind of creating our own kind of fandom. And I do think, looking around the world, I mean, that's always the goal. Like, what's that next great original story?
And it was amazing to me that went from Netflix to the theaters.
Yes, and that was a great time just to say, look, there was this kind of pent-up demand, like this sing-along, because the songs became so popular. And across lots of generations, and it was like a great sort of even family viewing outing. And we thought, oh, this is fun, right? It's been, successful on Netflix. Many people have watched it, but people were singing the songs everywhere and wanting to have more of that. And, it was a fun sort of weekend to have people to, come together and do a sing-along.
I want to talk a little bit more about theaters, right? Because earlier this year, Ted said that it's really an outdated model. And the sluggish box office revenues tell you that, and you have to see what the consumer is trying to tell you. And yet, the general consensus seems to be that films that go into theaters first, right? That seems to be a sort of belief even in Hollywood. And here we've seen that just recently with a film like Sayyara, which was a blockbuster in theaters and is also sort of trending on Netflix.
Yeah.
Is there a world in which Netflix and theaters work together instead of in opposition?
Look, I don't think it's in opposition at all because people love going to theaters. I like going to theaters. Like I totally get that is, that people want to do that and a lot of people love to do that. But to us, it's really about it's always going to be about the consumer first and where do they want to watch it. And we love movies and our members love movies around the world. And that's why I think what's been great is that we make and invest in a lot of original movies on Netflix around the world that are only on Netflix, right? They're great movies only on Netflix because people want that. They have a big appetite for movies and we want them to have that. And we also invest a lot in other studios and their movies in a pay one model, right? So we have pay one movies and, all of these amazing movies we have that are in the theaters in India and then come on Netflix. And that's great for our consumers, and it's great for those producers and all the talent that's involved in that in those studios, right? It helps actually invest more into the film community.
Of course.
And so for me, when I look at it, and always have around the world, I want the best movies on Netflix, period. And that is going to be a mix of original movies we do, Pay One movies we do, co-productions, licensing, lots of different things from Tamil, Telugu, Hindi, all of those. And so to me, it's not in opposition, right? It has always been about, are we investing in filmmakers and talent, and are we allowing for lots of different kinds of movies to be made, and more movies to be made, by the way. And so I think the opposition thing to me is totally not true. It's completely complementary. It's completely just the love and investment in film.
That's wonderful, because it always seems like there's an opposition there.
That might be, I'd say, as nicely as I can, that's probably like a journalistic narrative thing that people think that's a better story.
It's our fault.
People like to position a story like opposition because that's probably a more interesting story. But it's actually not that, because I think if people really look at the investment in movies, and more movies are getting made, right? And so I think that's great for everybody. And by the way, and to your earlier point, it's great for other kind of filmmakers, other filmmakers who are going to have an opportunity to make movies that maybe they wouldn't otherwise, right, in a theater. Or maybe somebody wouldn't say like, oh, we can, have that kind of spend and take that kind of risk. I mean, so for me, it's like all across the board, below the line, above the line, like all of it, in front of, behind the camera, more stories are getting made, and more movies are getting made. So definitely, I'd say definitely more complementary, and actually the same goal in mind. We all want to make great stories and great films that audiences love.
Yeah. But earlier this year, Amir Khan sort of railed into this whole, thing of movies going within 8 weeks on a streaming service, right? He said this is a really faulty business model, and there has to be a pay-per-view window. Is this something that Netflix would ever be open to?
What members love about Netflix is, right, you pay a subscription fee and you get to watch Netflix. It's not pay here, there, where is it, which window is it? It's very clear.
Yeah.
So last year we did a boxing match, right? Mike Tyson, Jake Paul. Last weekend we did a boxing match, Canelo versus Crawford. Huge sport, been very fragmented, been pay-per-view for a long time. And what we said to our members is, you don't have to pay extra, you don't pay different. We're going to offer you an incredible, this last boxing match, Canelo and Crawford, right, revered as one of the greatest matches. It was an amazing fight. Members didn't have to figure out how to pay it, trying to have to pay more. It was, if you're a Netflix member, you get to have this boxing match. And I think, again, being consumer first and giving consumer choices and audience choices to get to watch it without having to upcharge everything or figure out 7 different windows of where something is and when it's there. So for us, it's just been the ease of, it's on Netflix and you get to watch it. And so I'd say that to me is still really more about consumer choice and control.
Bela, it's been about 10 years for you at Netflix.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But before coming here, you said that you had perhaps one of your biggest learnings in your professional career when you were actually fired from the head of Universal Television. And you said it was liberating. Why was it liberating?
It was liberating after it happened. Look, I think it's, a lot of people, we talk about how you learn so much more from failure, right, than successes. But yet when there's something that perceives as a failure, right, and it just feels like, okay, so something bad happened and let's not talk about it. And I think it was really, in retrospect, an incredible learning opportunity, right? Who are you? What do you stand for? Those relationships and all the work that I did before, what do you learn from that, right? And again, and how do you build something feels like a failure, and sort of what are those lessons you take from it, right? Do you you dust yourself up, you get back, you sort of use all those skills and relationships, right, that you had made, and what do you do next? And so I'd say in the first few months, it was a lot of processing of sort of understanding kind of what that is. And I'd say having, after that, it was liberating of just, oh, of course I can bet on myself. And what do you do next with it? And how do you show up? I have 3 kids. How do you show up to your kids? What's the next thing you do? And in a lot of ways, when I first got into Hollywood, my dream job was to run a TV studio, right? That was my dream job. And I got to do that, which is amazing. And this is the dream job, but this dream job did not exist when I first got into the business a long time ago. And that experience, right? And I had, worked with Ted and Netflix and worked on Master of None and Kimmy Schmidt when I was at Universal. And so we had that relationship. And the liberating part was, looking at, okay, what do I want to do next? And then I really was like, I'm going to get back into, I'm curious about learning new things. And what is that next thing I want to learn? And at that point, which was a long time, which is I think about like nine years ago, was I really want to learn streaming, right? It wasn't the future. Everybody kept saying it was the future. And 9 years ago, I was like, no, it's actually happening. And I always admired Netflix and Ted so much. And so I was really like, I'm going to go learn something. I'm going to go learn something different. And, I started there to start the unscripted division and oversee licensing. And those were 2 things I'd never done before. And I was like, I'm just open to learning something new. And going back into that curiosity and learning, was kind of, I think, that great lesson. And then obviously from that came into, coming to expand local language originals and opening offices around the world and really diving into like storytelling in all these different countries. And I'd say I always felt like I had a little bit of an advantage because I was so excited about storytelling because, right, being Indian, but born in London, but from East Africa, I always felt a bit of the world, and I grew up watching Bollywood movies. And so it wasn't, that I understood there was great storytelling around the world. And then, I got to, do that and, ultimately led me to this job. So I'd say there was just a ton of learning in it. And I think I talk about it because we don't talk about it enough, right? When people get fired or there's a failure, and how do you what do you take from that? And who really are you in those moments? And what are the lessons you learn and what are the lessons you kind of, impart from there?
How long did it take you to sort of find that distance and clarity?
Now, because it's been a long time, it seems very clear. Look, I started at Netflix, 3 months after, so it wasn't that, but I still think it was, because again, I think we can always look back on something with perspective, right, after some time has passed. So I'd say probably took me a good 2 years to really get clarity on how liberating to sort of figure out kind of just what that next thing was with that kind of curiosity again, and wanting to learn something, which led me to Netflix, which has been the coolest, amazing journey and adventure, and it's incredible. But I do think it's like anything else, right? It takes a couple years, and then you look back and you go, "Ooh, now I have clarity, and I really learned some lessons from it."
Is it true that you do not suffer from jet lag?
It is. I can't take a lot of credit for it because it's just somewhere in the DNA, thankfully.
That's a superpower.
It is a superpower. I don't know which, everybody's like, oh, it's a superpower. So I was like, I don't know which comes first. I don't know. If somebody did, it'd be very hard to do this job because
exactly,
I'm on a plane a lot and there's a lot of travel. I also think it's not necessarily that I don't suffer from it. It's I can live off of adrenaline and a busy schedule.
Nice.
And I like that. And by the way, and when I travel, for me, it's about, I can travel, I go to these countries, I get to be, in the community, meet, our teams internally, really talk about what's going on and on the slate. And then I get to, meet talent and really hear about what is going on sort of, in the market and in, film and TV that's being made. And so it's always so informative and so great to meet people in person, right? And so in that way, I kind of forget about it's invigorating. I forget about the tired part because I'm just, right, you're having fun. I'm meeting people, I'm having fun, I'm learning. I'm really also, because there's still nothing like seeing people in person, right? And really being in a country and in the community and, being at the premiere last night, really just seeing people in person and having that connection. And so I think, that helps with the jet lag part.
What's your sense of the film industry in Mumbai? Yesterday at the premiere, you said that Mumbai is one of your favorite places to come to.
Yeah.
Why?
I think, the city, the industry, the community around it, right? There's so much energy, right, of the city. Yeah. I mean, you go out on the street and there's just so much life and energy. And I've always, right, since I was young, always loved coming to Mumbai. And it's amazing to, be able to do it, now in the film and TV business too. But I just, I think it's great to come here. And I think it's been interesting to learn more in the last couple of years about Tamil and Telugu films. Like that's been interesting to me to just kind of, understand, that more. And then, just the history of Indian cinema is incredible.
Yeah.
And so to be here and to meet with people and to, continue to talk about Indian cinema, which I think maybe people always felt like it looked or felt like one thing before, and now there's just so many different kinds of films, being made, and it's exciting. There's just a rich history of it here.
Yeah. And I think at least here you see now people really wanting to expand their sort of footprint. There's a lot of artists who have agents in LA now who really want to be doing stuff abroad. Do you think that this is a good time for that sort of cross-pollination?
Look, I think for us, and we've seen this all around the world, right? So now if a creator or filmmaker in Mumbai or Madrid or Mexico City makes something local or makes a film, we're also launching that to an audience all around the world at the same time. And so the access, right, to have your story, right, shown all around the world, right, is just there in a very sort of easy way. And we've seen it happen, right, from different countries. And so I do think, look, first of all, you make a movie on Netflix and that, a Hindi movie or Penguin, like, obviously, Indians all around the world are going to watch it because there's still if you're Indian, not living in India, you are still the love of storytelling from India it's always going to be the first must watch.
Yeah.
But then you have an audience around the world. You saw with RRR when it was on Netflix too. Like you have an audience around the world. They hear about it. The social people say, "Oh, you should watch it," and it's very easy to find. I can click play and there it is. And so I do think there's so much about Indian culture, storytelling, where we're just kind of are on that precipice, right? Of that one next thing is going to sort of hit and tip over and be, Money Heist or Squid Game or K-pop Demon Hunters, whatever that is, like that. It's going in that kind of global way that will even cross kind of, obviously just like Indians around the world.
Yeah. Well, Heeramandi was in the
top 100. And that's what I'm saying. Heeramandi had that. Heeramandi was like, and it definitely had that piece that could sort of, cross. And you saw that with like RR, you saw with Heeramandi. So I think it's right there.
It's moving.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
What is your preferred working style? Are you somebody who's delegating and empowering, or do you like to sort of assert control?
I could never do this job well
without delegating.
Yeah, as if I wasn't delegating.
Yeah.
I'd say, look, one of my superpowers is that I hire really smart, great people and I let them do their job. And that is because, again, I have teams all around the world who have, green light authority, they make decisions in their time zone. And my job is to make sure that I create an environment for them that they feel empowered and supported, and they're creating a great environment for their team, who in turn creates a great environment for creators and filmmakers to come in, right? Yeah. And so that's my job. And so for me, it's always about that to be, make quick decisions, clarity, what's the vision, and just make sure that, I can help develop, what they need. But for me, it's always been about hiring really great, smart people and supporting them, right, to be great at their jobs. And so for sure, it's empowerment and delegation. There's no way to do this well, and if I was actually thinking I was trying to do it all.
Bela, your decisions impact what all of us see, right, in such a massive way. how do you curate what you're seeing?
Like actually personally when
Yeah,
I'm watching.
yeah.
So I talk to all the teams around the world constantly, right, about the slate and what's coming up. And so all of the originals, I watch, and in a lot of ways, the teams know that I'm kind of the first fresh eyes, right? I haven't been in it day in and day out, so they'll send me cuts and I'll watch it. Look, I travel a lot, so I watch a lot on a plane. But that sort of, there's the big tempos, there's the original slate around the world, and I always kind of, I watch that because I really am the first kind of fresh eyes. And a lot of those, right, I click play and I'm watching just like an audience. Well, like I wasn't involved in every minute of it. Some things I'm obviously just more involved than others sometimes, depending on lots of different circumstances. But I'm a fan of also film and TV, so I watch a lot of it. And so what a fun job for me.
You get paid to do it.
Exactly. So fun.
Yeah, so do I. It's
great. Yes, exactly.
It's great. Tell me, is there a typical day for you, or are most days different?
All of the days are different, but and that's, what I love. But it's definitely a mix of, internal meetings with the teams, or with, marketing, PR, could be, meeting with press, doing a lunch or dinner with talent, right, a premiere. Then there's a lot of things in production of just, strategy on a country slate. And so it's really just a mix. It's really great. These jobs, it's so many different things are shooting. And so there's problems that can come up, right? Because things are shooting all around the world at all times. And so it's really a mix of a lot of different things. But it's usually, and depending on sort of the day, a mix of talent and, strategy, watching cuts and just meetings, sometimes just talking about a script or a material.
Back in the day when I interviewed Ted, I remember reading, somebody said that he was the Tom Hanks of studio heads because he's so nice.
He is so nice. That is true.
Are you also a sort of a version of Tom Hanks?
Yeah, so what's the female version of Tom Hanks? Look, I think, Ted and I have a great relationship and we work incredibly well together, but I think it really is, there's so much about, we're both just genuinely fans of film and TV, right? Doing it, and now I've been doing it for 30 years or something. Not jaded at all, not cynical. I'm so excited about when an audience is about to watch something, and I just can't wait. I'm like, oh, this was so good. I can't wait for the audience to watch it. And so many times if I hear a pitch or watch something that I love, it's like the first film or TV show I ever worked on. I'm as excited as I was, and he definitely has that. And we're really about relationships and how people feel, right? And we want people to feel really great internally working in Netflix, but also we really want creators and filmmakers to have, a great experience here.
So what's the strangest place you've been pitched a story at?
Oh, like where I was?
Yeah.
What I love about Netflix is that we get to do all these great things and people feel very connected to it. They really feel like it's their, they have a lot of ownership over Netflix, which I love. The tricky part is, if anybody knows I work at Netflix, right, I'm going to get pitched everywhere, right? So the barista has a story, the doctor, I was in my doctor's office one day and they were like, hey, and I was like, wait, I'm walking on a treadmill in like a cardiologist sort of office as a test. I was like, this is definitely not the time to pitch me an idea. But people just love it, right? And they have ideas and they know a lot about Netflix. It's very interesting because, and I've worked at different companies and people just don't have that same kind of like connection. Ownership and connection to it, which is an amazing thing. So giving the, like I get pitched in an airport or at a doctor's office, I'd still sort of, I guess, take that and the personal connection to Netflix versus the alternative. And just a passion for what it is. Right?
And what do you respond with? How do you politely say?
Oh, I politely have to do this all day long. Yes, politely, yes. Look, I hope nothing would make me happier. That'd be really exciting if I was in some random place and somebody just pitched me the greatest idea.
I know. How fun would that be?
That would be fun. That would be fun.
Yes, that would be fun. So you have to You have to listen, right?
Yes. Well, I listen. Sometimes I'll say, "Oh, that's so nice. We totally just made a movie just like that." Or yes, but yes, it's always yes, very polite. But I love it because people really. That's the thing, right, about film and TV. Like, people are connected to something, or they watch something, and that kind of made them think of like, oh, this kind of idea, or they hear a story, right? I mean, it's just the oldest form of around campfire family stories, oral stories, like being passed, and so it's just like such a personal thing that people love. Like, I didn't really tell the doctor what I thought he should do for a diagnosis for somebody else, but he definitely could pitch me a show.
Yeah. Okay, almost done. But
Yes.
I have to ask you about. You have a piece of art in your office that says, "Have you seen my shadow?"
Yes. How do you know? Is that somewhere? Oh, clearly that's somewhere, a picture somewhere. Yes. Yeah.
Tell me more about it.
Look, I love just the image of, the woman sort of in that hate copy is the company. And I just, look, I think growing up as an Indian woman and lots of different, whatever the expectation or perception of what you can and can't do and what you're supposed to feel like or be judged by, right? And so I thought it was cheeky and I thought it was fun.
It is. I
Yeah.
love it.
Yeah.
It just made me smile.
Yeah.
Okay, and now it's time for us to update our IMDb watch lists with your favorite films. So what are Bela Bajaria's 5 10 on 10s, which means 5 films that you would rate 10 on 10?
5 films that I read. Okay. Devil Wears Prada. I feel like just Godfather is just Godfather's Godfather. So I think I'm sure that gets mentioned a lot, but Godfather is still Godfather. I love Chamkila. I did too. I loved that. I love that movie. Still, I think all time would stay, even probably if you asked me 10 years from now, Shawshank Redemption.
Of course.
But I really love Zero Dark 30.
Yeah. Nice.
Yeah.
Bela, thank you so much.
Thank you.
It's always a pleasure to see you in Mumbai.
Thank
come
you.
back and
Thank you. I will. I love it. And I'm glad we're kicking off your Titans show. Yes. Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you. Hi, I'm Bela Bajaria, and you're watching me on Hollywood Reporter, India. Please subscribe.